final countdown is on in London for one of the world's greatest sporting events. The 2012 Summer Olympics kick off later this month, followed by the Paralympic Games.
This is London's invitation to the world.
An invitation for 10,500 athletes from over 200 nations to compete in hundreds of sporting events. But staging the Olympics will cost €12 billion. Critics argue it's too high a price to pay, but Olympic officials say the investment will leave a legacy.
We've taken one of the most deprived parts of our country and have turned it into a magic place. I mean, that Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, everybody thinks it's all for sporting facilities. 75% of the cost is for infrastructure in the village, so that will mature and will develop and will change over the next 100 years. I mean, I really don't know how you put a price on that. I think it's fantastic.
This is the Olympic Park in Stratford in East London, an area once described as an industrial wasteland. But since the capital won the Olympic bid 7 years ago, it's been transformed. The area now boasts a 500-acre park, which includes the Olympic Stadium, Velodrome, Aquatic Centre, as well as Europe's largest urban shopping centre. Sounds impressive, but there's concern among communities in this part of London about what will happen when the Games are over and the Olympic Park becomes the Queen Elizabeth Park. The key question, will all of the money invested really trickle down to help some of the city's poorest areas? Maria Coyle has been living in a local authority house here in Stratford for 42 years. Her property, along with others, is said to be earmarked for destruction.
For me, and I think for most of the people on this estate, they want to stay where they are. It's like the people who's bought their houses on this estate. I mean, they'll give them money, but it won't be enough for them to buy. They want to stay in Stratford. They wouldn't be able to buy nothing in London for what they're going to give them. Give them a market value of a house. But then it's a market value of the house in the east end of London. But when they've done it all up, the market value will probably be double.
No one will be able to stay.
No one will be able to stay.
The organisers of the London Olympics argue that investment will regenerate these areas plagued by high unemployment, crime and poor infrastructure. Many residents in local authority blocks have been relocated. Others, like Joan Shields, are waiting to find out when they will be moved. She's worried about the community that's been built up here.
That wealth is just going to wealthy people. You know, it's going to people that are going to make money out of the new buildings. You know, they've got it all planned out, which is awful in this day and age. To think that you're going backwards rather than forward. You know, it's like going back to the East End when, you know, people worked in the poorhouse and all that. You know, they shoved the poor ones out just so the rich, and that seems to be how it's always been.
Emma Clark runs the Carpenter's Arms pub with her father. During the construction of the Olympic Park, the bar is said to have been packed with workers, day and night. Now it's virtually empty, and to make matters worse, the road leading to the park is closed. Workers will return to dismantle some of the Olympic facilities, but Emma is struggling to get excited about the event.
Not really. I suppose you'd be more excited if you were able to go in and watch it and that kind of thing, but I didn't get an opportunity to even try and bid for a ticket. I wouldn't even know how to do it, but I'm not that excited about it, to be quite honest. I don't think a lot of people are. I think it's a lot of people that are involved in it and that kind of thing. It's a very good opportunity for London and to bring a lot of people in, but no, me personally, I'm just work across the road. That's all I see it as.
The Olympic legacy has become increasingly controversial. Many point to the 1976 Montreal Games, which took taxpayers 30 years to pay back. In the UK, there's the question of why so much money is being spent at a time of economic turbulence. London will make Olympic history this year, becoming the only city to host the Games 3 times. Author Janie Hampton wrote about the 1948 Games.
When London won the bid for the Olympics back in 2005, I just thought, I wonder what happened the last time in 1948. How did they organise it when Britain had only just got over the Second World War and was in a terrible state economically? There was rationing of food, petrol, transport, clothing even. The group of organisers, they were aristocratic military gentlemen. They had private income, so they didn't need to make any money of their own. They had a secretary and a typewriter. They went to the government said, well, we haven't got any money, we can't help you. We're far too busy building hospitals and new houses, but you get on with it, that's fine. The organisers were really good at just going to people saying, can we borrow something? They borrowed Wembley Stadium, and the owner of it said, OK, I'll close down my greyhound racing track, I will convert it into athletics track, I won't charge you anything until after it's all over. And everybody brought food with them, because we had terrible food rationing. So the Americans flew in steak and fresh fruit and wonderful bread, quality bread. The French brought a whole wagon full of steak and another wagon full of Chateau Mouton Rothschild wine. They were a bit upset when customs said, you've got to pay import duty. They said, no, we're not going to sell it, we need to drink it.
John Partlet and Dorothy Manley took part in the 1948 Games. Games which cost €22 million to stage and even generated a small profit. More than 6 decades on, this husband and wife have been invited to attend the 2012 event.
The newspapers were restricted. Newsprint was very short, and there were 8-page newspapers, and they had other things to talk about. We just started the National Health Service in this country. There was a Berlin airlift. The Russians had put a blockade on Berlin. There was a Palestine problem at that time. So there was a lot in the newspapers, and they didn't talk about the Olympics until fairly close to the Olympics. And it was only in the sort of week or two before the Olympics that they found that people were getting enthusiastic about it. And they came in and they filled the seats.
Those who did come and fill the seats saw Dorothy Manley, then 19 years old, compete in the 100-metre race. Like many Olympians back then, Dorothy was already working full-time as a shorthand typist and only started training a few weeks before the competition. Winning the silver medal was, of course, a highlight.
Well, I do think very over the top, really, with the amount of money they're spending, especially for the opening ceremony. So it doesn't need that. It's, I think it doesn't bear much resemblance to what it's supposed to be showing you, the Olympics. And nowadays it's the winning, it's all gold, isn't it? But for me it was the taking part that counted, as Baron de Coubertin said originally. That was the idea of the Games. It isn't the winning, it's the taking part.
Baron de Coubertin was the founder of the modern Olympics. It's clear that while the Games themselves continue to grow and change with time, the Olympic legacy debate remains.